All right, welcome to the QB School live, maybe? It's been a hot minute. Appreciate y'all checking in, coming into the live. We're just talking ball today, so if there's anything you want to hit, now's the time. Never been a better time than right at the start of a live to talk about whatever kind of ball you want to talk about. It's that time of year where everyone feels good. It's a great time in the football world. Maybe some off-season workouts, some spring ball coming to an end, coming into the summer months, summer workouts, feeling good, locked in here. Excited to see my man Luke coming into the chat. Beat us. Yo, yo, yo. Ready for those Justin Fields breakdowns coming back. I'm excited for them to come back too. It seems this is the time of year for me where I think everybody starts to get excited for football because, yeah, we still got the lull of the summer. But if you're playing, you're really ramping up. This is your kind of time to make those kind of final touches on your game, on your kind of, how you're feeling, your strength, all those types of things, your explosiveness, and then to come into camp feeling really good. If you're preparing for your season, you're in that kind of final ramp up. You get to fine tune your stuff over the summer. If you're playing multiple sports as a younger guy, you're kind of probably coming out of baseball, coming out of whatever you're doing in the spring, coming out of track and field, and being able to come out and feel really good about focusing on ball. And so it's a fun time to talk football. There's certainly any different iteration you can go here. I'm excited to probably jump ahead content-wise and maybe see about some potential guys coming out next year that I'll be ramping up with. Thinking, what are the ones off the top of my head? Like Bo Nix, Spencer Rattler, I want to go back and take a peek at. It's been a long time since I've looked at him play. And so there are a handful of guys that, if there are guys that you think I should take a peek at kind of before they go into this next fall, college football-wise, let me know. I've also had fun going back, looking at some of the playoff performances, really the playoff L's, and trying to see kind of peel apart some of those performances, see how guys who are kind of on the ascension of their career, how they're playing when it matters most. I think tomorrow's video is going to be Trevor Lawrence versus the Chiefs. So excited to share that one. My guy CB, what's good? Ba-boom. Appreciate coming out. Let me beat us. What you got right out the gate? What is going to be the most valuable for JF1? The revamped offensive line, DJ Moore, or a second year in the offense, finally having a consistency, or something else? It's probably all of the above and some. For me, it's never just one variable. It's usually never just one variable. I think if you maybe looked at certain teams, I think like the Eagles and A.J. Brown, you could point to as kind of like a single variable. But for Justin Fields, I'm excited to see what all of those things look like. What it looks like on the perimeter, I'm optimistic. I can't say that I'm fired up about. I think that they're certainly better. I think that it's still not necessarily close to what most people would classify as an elite unit. So it will just be the combination of, for me personally with Justin Fields, it's kind of morphine or evolving what they do offensively to take advantage of his run game skill set, how he's able to run the rock with a more developed, cogent, kind of professional drop back passing game. So all of those things together will be what I'm looking for. Boom, Jerry coming in hot. Jerry, I have no idea who's going to be the starting quarterback at Alabama. In fact, I couldn't tell you one quarterback on the roster at Alabama. I can tell you that Julian Sayin coming in I think he's, got a year left to high school. He's a San Diego kid, North County guy, is pretty good, and I'm excited to watch him when he gets there. But I have no idea who's going to be the quarterback in Alabama. Probably someone who's really good at football, as they've been cranking out guys for a long time. But I don't know what it looks like as far as what their depth chart looks like moving forward. That's the beautiful thing about not necessarily having a specific team that I kind of quote-unquote fan about. I don't necessarily know unless you're like a national recruit. And even the national recruits, I only know a handful of them. So I apologize not being able to give you a little bit more information than that. Oh, we got Brazil checking in. Appreciate you. Watching all the way from Brazil. Very cool. Thanks for letting me know. The Camper Report. Do you buy the hype that Trey Lance has actually fixed his mechanics according to Mahomes' quarterback coach? I mean, I don't really pay attention to it, to be honest with you. I think most guys nowadays, and I would say guys for a long time, have worked with professional quote unquote quarterback throwing coaches in the offseason. I think if you're not, you're really missing an opportunity to improve your stroke, improve the way that you're able to deliver the ball. You know, I don't know. I think time will tell. I think it's one of those stories that's kind of feels like it's gotten some legs here in the offseason. But I mean, the beautiful thing about it is we'll all find out soon enough. Yeah, we'll see. I'll leave it at that, I guess. Boom. Oh, man, my guy Brad coming in hot. Appreciate the support, dude, as always. Brad, this is your time of year, buddy. You're out there just getting everybody ready to go. I'm excited. I enjoy watching, following on Twitter. Steve coming in hot as well. Appreciate you. Hey, Coach. It's me, your online security guard. Just making sure everyone listening and following directions. Got my eye on y'all. I appreciate it, Steve. Locked in, my guy. Boom. Making sure we're putting out any fires out there. Usually it's pretty good. I see a question in there on how was the NFL experience or NFL Europe experience. I think I have a video on the NFL Europe experience. So if you're interested in more, do me a favor, go out there and check it out. I had a great experience in NFL Europe, besides the fact that, you know, no offense if you're from Europe or living in Europe right now, but as a California kid, you know, you probably want to be in California. So it was, besides for not being able to live at home, but still it was a great experience. And for a number of different levels, no more so than anything, just being able to play. I think that's the thing that can't be overstated for the quarterback position. And you see it a little bit in some of these other leagues. I've been a fan of my guy Luis Perez for a while, another San Diego guy. But at some point, quarterback-wise, you have to play. And if you don't get an opportunity to play, you're never going to really refine or improve your skills as much as you could otherwise. So meaning that you can get better with your personal coach. You can get better throwing at stationary targets. You can get better throwing balls on air. All those things are things that I think everybody has to do, but eventually you got to play. And only one person plays quarterback, you know, as opposed to if you're a backer or, you know, a D lineman, you're going to get reps. You're going to be in a rotation. There's no rotation at quarterback. You know, if you're not the guy, you're not playing. And so that part of that NFL Europe for me really allowed me to kind of get a couple more years in the league, really the whole second half of my career. So I owe it a lot. We got Ireland checking in. Appreciate you. Got a bunch of familiar names. Darren, love it. Darren asking him about your boy Levis. Any thoughts on Levis going to the Titans? Obviously a bit of a message to Malik Willis. Not sure why they aren't going to give him the job. Well, yeah, there's a lot in those two things. We'll see. I mean, the honest answer is no, not really, but and/or coupled with the fact that I'm not sure that's a great place to play quarterback. Like, that's no offense. I'm a big fan of Mike Vrabel. Was a fan of him playing. He's a good dude. But for whatever reason, it seems like it's been tough to play quarterback for them recently. Not tough meaning that Tannehill hasn't done a good job, but what they want to be offensively makes playing quarterback at a high level pretty difficult. Not impossible, just difficult when you've got such a weapon running the ball. So it's hard to figure out exactly what that looks like, and then kind of the Malik Willis to Levis. You know, I'll say this, he's in a position, I think, to be able to potentially get on the field quickly for an organization that has been a winning organization recently. So that part of it seems like it's a good situation. Now, is it a good situation to thrive at quarterback? We'll see. I couldn't even tell you who their coordinator is right now. I know it's not Todd. Other than that, I don't know. Brad, what you got? What's up, JT? What up, homie? Almost daily, I'm telling some young quarterback about you. I appreciate you spreading the word. Talk about different systems in the NFL. I think that a lot of QBs would love to hear you talk about it in depth. I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate you pushing people towards the channel. It's one of those things for me, the ability to be able to, I think it's morphed for me a few different ways. Originally, I used to think, I just want to learn as many systems as I possibly could when I was in it. and like, what's the difference between this system and this concept, and how do they talk about it? How do they teach it? And then I don't remember exactly when it happened, but it definitely happened while I was playing. It was much more of a transition to just understanding what I thought kind of the first principles or like universal core concepts were that could be transferable to any system, any football language, any verbiage. And so it was almost like it's a terrible analogy, and I know people don't like learning like nouns and verbs and the grammar element of syntax, but once you have an understanding of some of that, it's a lot easier to learn those next languages. And so I think of it more as like, hey, these are the universal principles of pass protection. It doesn't mean that every single system does it like this, but at some element, it's math. We have 5, they're rushing 5. We have 5, they're rushing 6. We have 5, they're rushing 4. Where do we want the double teams? What are our kind of underlying principles on how we structure our pass protection to allow the quarterback to play at a high level, to protect the quarterback, to have answers? And then as you build it out, as you get more experience in ball, and as you're in different systems, you can see, hey, I like this answer. I like this tool. I like this element. How can I mold these things into my system when I coach, when I play, when I want to visit with the coordinator and say, hey, can we think about doing this? Can we think about this snap count? Can we think about this potential redirect? Can we think about, who's doing the points, who's doing the declarations, what's going on with the run game identification? Can we do some RPO? All those types of things, having the lexicon, the ability to communicate at a high level, not only what quote unquote best practices are, because that's a whole different video, but the idea to be able to talk ball at a high level universally, no matter what the system is. And then to be able to craft it from that to allow you to play at a high level, to allow you to perform or coach or teach your system, and to be able to iterate back and forth and not get kind of caught in the filter or kind of muddiness of, I think we've all been around coaches, I know I have, that speak ball in their language. And I personally used to find it embarrassing. Like they would call it something that only we called it. And then they'd go to a clinic or talk to another coach and be like, yeah, we're running blah, 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 blah. And they'd be like, what the hell is that? That's not a thing. Like that's your thing. You call it strawberry milkshake. No one else calls it strawberry milkshake. So it's not really strawberry milkshake if we're going to talk like universal principles of ball. And so the ability to communicate across systems, but allow you to realize that the takeaway is to make it your own. And I think that's kind of the sweet spot that I enjoy. And so I appreciate you pushing people towards the channel. But boom. All right, what else we got? Son of a gun, you know what I need to do? See if I can do this on my screen while we're doing this. Gonna bring it back. All right, that's better. Sorry. All right, what we got? Got all sorts of good stuff. We got 58 of our closest friends in here right now. I appreciate y'all coming in and hanging out. Talk a little ball in May. Talking football in May on YouTube, a little live. Appreciate it. All right, Darren, what do you believe are the reasons offensive systems still use the out route so much? Is it easy to rip for most? Hell no. You ever thrown an out route, bro? Is it used a lot in high school ball? I don't know if I would agree that a lot of teams use out routes. For instance, I coached high school football for 3 years, a couple years ago, and we didn't throw any true quick outs or speed outs from the number one receivers. We threw some outs from the slot. We threw some comebacks. I think they potentially can be easy to see. I think they're really hard to throw. I think they're unnecessarily difficult too, depending on where you're throwing them. But that's just me. I hate them out of condensed formations. Some people love them. I mean, it's just personal preference, I guess. Appreciate everybody checking in as they come in. I'm not nervous about the Padres, dog. You got to have some faith. Have some faith. Eventually, we're going to start hitting. I'm medium. No, I wouldn't say I'm medium nervous. I'm uncomfortable, but I'm excited that it's a long season. CB, What were some of the most effective retention exercises methods you remember from your playing days or coaching days? Ooh, that's a good question. I was always an index card guy. Not a lot of people are. So I started when I was coaching making quarterbacks do index cards. In fact, I made the entire offense do index cards. I think I have a video on that. I'm also a big fan, and obviously, a big fan of video. So we would videotape our installations and just have them available on our huddle. So like when a new player would come in, or if someone wanted to rewatch an install, I would never sit down with someone and be like, "Hey, this is the install again. I did it once on video. You can go watch it. If it's important to you, you'll go watch it." And then I tried to be, video conscious of teaching when we're going out there on the field, meaning that like we would never stop practice and let like a position coach like talk through, their position mistake in the middle of practice. Like, hell no, like you got to teach in the classroom on video, after practice, before practice, in your individual time. We're never going to stop the team. It was always going to be we're trying to play really fast and simulate having the players solve their issues. The other thing that we did that I really liked, what did we call it? I forget what we called it. Maybe we called it halftime, intermission or something. We took like a 5-minute break in between practice to try to simulate like a halftime where you really did kind of get together with your unit. Usually, if it was defensive practice, offensive practice in high school level, your side of the ball, to kind of simulate kind of a condensed halftime. So getting used to kind of recalibrating your energy, recalibrating, your approach, being able to take a break, come back, get loosened up again, those types of things, I think simulate game type stuff, that those always help for me. But then it was just, honestly, I think this is kind of, it's an oversimplification, but there's truth in it in my anecdotal experiences. If it's important to you, you'll find a way to learn it as quickly as you can. If it's not important to you, you're not going to study. I'm not going to twist your arm to learn our plays if you're the quarterback. If you're not going to learn the plays, you're not playing quarterback. Like that's just, now you might not have the capacity to learn all the plays. And then we've got like a learning issue. And then I've got to, make sure you have the scaffolding around you to be successful to learn. But, if you're not going to spend the time, I'm not going to worry about you. Boom. My guy, Cody, go crazy. Appreciate you coming in hot with the super chat. Do you think play action and RPOs out of empty will be the next evolution in the NFL, with quarterbacks getting faster and more durable? I love your channel. Boom. Appreciate the love there, Cody. Play action out of empty. I'm not sure how exactly you would do play action out of empty. Like, you mean like jet sweeps, those types of things, like motioning people back into the backfield? I feel like those have been around for a while. I guess I don't classify those as new. I think you're onto something with the ability to be spread, but be multiple. And so what I mean by that is present spread flanks to a defense, meaning 3 open, 2 open, nobody in the backfield, but also having the capacity to run the ball. And that usually implies the jet sweep, fly sweep, and a quarterback run game, and an RPO, and now you're threatening the defense on multiple levels. So kind of back in the day, the talk, half a decade ago was horizontal stretch, vertical stretch. Well, now you're really getting that kind of multi-level even in the backfield. So horizontal with the jet sweep, vertical with the power read, vertical with the GT, vertical with the zone, RPO screen access on the backside, and the vertical RPO element down the field of glance, pop pass, those types of things. That level of consistency, not a specialty thing, but baked into the DNA of how you operate offensively. Yeah, I feel like that's where and how ball is being played at the highest level right now. I think just looking for more ways to do that, not only out of spread sets, but out of multiple personnels. So the easy one that everybody points to nowadays is like Georgia's 12 personnel, but when they've got these monsters at tight end that they can get into the run game, they can get into the screen game, they can get down the field threats, they can block in the run game, they can pass protect, be in wing formations, and or get to empty eventually. Those types of things with multiple personnels are my favorite ways to play offense. Now, you can't do that if you don't have the personnel. If you coach long enough, you're going to eventually find a point of you only have this one personnel or things like that, depending on what level you're at. But at the highest levels of ball, yeah, I think the ability to be multiple from multiple formations with multiple shifts, multiple motions, to be able to out leverage and outflank a defense based on formation, middle fingering someone, and making it multiple in your personnels, that's sure a fun way to play quarterback. For sure. Appreciate everybody as they come in. Do me a favor, hit that like button. Oh, dang it, I missed it. Hit that like button as you come into this thing. We'll keep this thing going strong here for a little bit. Ooh, man, the old flex bone stuff. I like it. Cody Go Crazy got me again. Appreciate it. Let's see what you got. The QB being in the run option, like faking a draw and then passing without jet sweep. Yeah. To me, do I think that's going to be like a common thing in the league? No. I think eventually the teams will want the quarterback to run to get hits on the quarterback. That fake draw, like T-ball pop pass stuff, to me is hard to make kind of a pillar of your offense. Those to me are more like trick'em dick'ems than necessarily things you would consistently be able to do. I also don't love that just because to me it impacts the precision of a passing game. Now in college, it's a little bit more grassy, like run to grass, settle, it can be a little bit more free in my opinion, or high school. But in the league, there's a lot of precision that needs to take place to be able to consistently throw the ball from within the pocket, my experience. Yeah, I really do see what you're saying as far as the fake draw or the fake stretch play with the quarterback. But to me, it would be hard to live in that world. I think it can be a worked-in package, and you can certainly see parts of it kind of flourish on certain Sundays or in certain red zone situations. But to run that, up and down the field for 17 games, no. Herbert or Elite, what makes Mahomes so successful? Is it Andy Reid? Andy Reid certainly plays a part of it, but no, it's not just Andy Reid. There's a lot that goes into Mahomes' success. I think the first thing that jumps off the film is just his ability, his creative element of what he's able to do, his arm strength, his arm angles, his touch, his velocity, his ability to make plays when there aren't anything there. He's also got some pretty good talent around him as well, on the perimeter as far as his tight end. But, man, he's been able to do it with kind of patchwork other guys around him. Losing Tyreek Hill, I think, just adds to the kind of allure of what he's able to do from the quarterback position. But, man, he's special on a number of levels. And he can kind of move and be elusive. There's so many different elements of it. But, man, his ability to create with his arm strength, with his vision, to me, and to do it when it matters most, to kind of elevate to the moment, are things that kind of jump to mind for me and Mahomes. I appreciate y'all kind of making this thing go as far as being engaged in the chat. It really does make these live streams kind of fun for me. So if there are things that you want to talk about for whatever reason I haven't talked about or it didn't make sense the first time, now really is the time to get in these chats and hit at me and let me know exactly what you want to talk about. I'll do my absolute best to get there. As always, I normally try to make sure that I get the guys who are members of the channel, just the guys with the little labels. Usually I recognize the names as well if they've been around for a while. So if you want to make sure you get your comment heard or read, make sure you become a member from the YouTube channel. Other than that, you really don't get much. No offense. But I usually do a pretty good job of being able to make sure that I at least see your comments, get to them, and make sure that they're being heard on the channel. So I'll try to get to as many as I possibly can. We'll see what we got here. Short round. People talk about the trickle up of knowledge philosophy from high school football through college up to the pros. Why isn't it the other way around? Shouldn't the pros have the most knowledge? I think it's trickled both ways. I think just probability-wise, there's more opportunity to be creative and more numbers at lower levels of ball. So if something's good you got more opportunity for it to be good with higher numbers. I also think that the guys in the pros aren't really available necessarily always for younger guys to be able to kind of, or lower levels coaches to be able to ask questions about. And I think guys at lower levels of ball are a little bit more open to share, has been my experience. The Gronk, Mac Jones, dog. Darren, if you were calling plays for AR, how many design runs would you feel comfortable calling? Seems like there should be a set number to avoid injuries as much as possible. Really? Man, that's a good question. Well, if I was calling plays for AR, I would probably have some sort of data research team doing their best to quantify what that number is. Now, it doesn't mean that we're going to use that as a hard metric, yes, no, or indifferent, but I would like to know what that historic number is for runs. I think about it more as meaningful runs as opposed to like random runs. So yeah, would we run a lot of like, quarterback pin and pull, on the -20, from 2nd and 8? No. But meaningful runs, I would run them a lot. I would run them as much as necessary to be successful as an offense. And I think it makes the transition to the league a little bit easier for guys who can run and get first downs on their own. But, would I want him getting 20 carries a game? No. Would I want him getting, would I be comfortable with 8 to 10 to start? Probably. That's a couple a quarter. That might be a little high, +5, somewhere between 5 and 10. Definitely third down, red zone. I think of it more like that. Like if we got a bunch of red zone opportunities, we're probably going to run them a lot. I don't know. That's how I think about it. I don't necessarily think a set number, I think a set number makes people feel good. I don't necessarily know if it makes us win more games or play at a higher level or kind of ensure the longevity that a lot of people want. I think that there's a fine line based on what the expectations are for that game and the game situation, the situational awareness of where we're at. But I'll tell you, I would lean on running him. And if that's a problem, then you shouldn't have drafted him. Oh, my guy Michael coming in. Are your game analysis videos always done on the fly, meaning it's the first time you are viewing the film? In the Patreon community, yes. For the YouTube channel, I usually watch the game. We'll kind of flag plays that I think are interesting, and then I'll go back and kind of cut the fat around those plays and just duplicate it so you get to watch it twice and then go. So no, it's not the first time I'm watching them for the most part. That would be tough. And even on the Patreon ones, you can hear hints when I'll say like, hey, let's go, let me rewind this one, and then it will just jump back to it so I can watch it a few times to be able to give a little bit more in-depth content than just kind of my initial vomit on a play. It's harder. It's a lot harder to do that. Jordan Henry, I have no thoughts on Aiden O'Connell. In fact, I haven't watched any of him. I tried to get some video of him a while ago and just didn't happen. Same thing with the dude from BYU, so no opinions. Sorry. Darren, 8 to 10. I think that sounds like a lot, to be honest with you, but the ability to slide and or be smart about hits, I think matters. I also think the types of run matter. So like inside the tackle, running like power read, I would not run, a whole lot of times. Running GT, probably not a whole lot. Running zone read, running pin and pull to the sideline, running stretch at the goal line and short yardage, those are easier hits to me than running inside the tackles where you're going to have to lower both shoulders and take someone on in the hole potentially. And so the types of run matters too, but like, yeah. What did Trey Lance got hurt on GT, right? I think I've already talked about it. There's some missed assignments on that play, but still, I think here's my thing. When they drafted a guy like Anthony Richardson, you have to be comfortable running the quarterback or else you can't draft him, for me. Same thing with Justin Fields. If you're not comfortable with him potentially missing a game or being banged up, then you should go a different direction. And I just think you're missing out if you go a different direction. Boom. Coming in hot. with the super chats. I appreciate it. Alexander Wilson, I'm a novice, but when the offense coordinator says he needs to game plan around or for a defensive player like Aaron Donald, what does that mean? That can mean a lot of different things. I don't think you're a novice by noticing that. It means that oftentimes you need to have a plan for what you're going to do about that player. So for Aaron Donald, what are we going to do in the run game? Are we going to try to run towards him? We're going to try to run away from him. In the pass protection world, are we going to try to give him multiple different looks? Are we going to try to get the double team on him? Are we going to slide towards him? Are we going to have the back exit through his lane and flipper him? Are we going to have people chip him? We need to have a plan where he is on every play. We're going to give multiple looks. We're going to not block him certain times. We're going to screen him. We're going to run him. We're going to keep him on the backside of nakeds. Those types of things that go into every play. Do we want to call it towards him, away from him? What does that look like? It's not that you don't do anything towards him. It's just that, some great pass rushers are terrible at the point of attack. So let's run at him. Now, Aaron Donald's probably not that guy, but just giving multiple looks. Can we trap him? Can we wham him? Can we crunch him? Can we, midline him? Can we, all sorts of different things to be able to make life difficult for him? Can we cut him? Can we chop him? Can we ear hole him and potentially with someone not in the, coming from the side, those types of things? Can we down block him? Can we double team him to make sure we have a plan for him? And it's not just Aaron Donald. You can do that with a guy in the corner, a safety, a linebacker type, to be able to give them multiple looks to make their job as difficult as possible. Spacing and Hank are my favorite concepts. Something like that. It's tough out there with those. Darren, I appreciate the love for the Patreon community. That reminds me, if you're not a patron, now is the time. So hop over there and you can become a member. I really do appreciate the support by being a Quarterback School Patreon community member. I'll get to start making more videos over there over the course of summer and into the fall for sure. See what else we got here. Donald, I've watched a show for 2 years and was a member for one, and you talked about how much Justin Fields has improved and he makes throws other quarterbacks can't make. Okay. Yeah, I don't know where I see your other comments, Donald, too, about people saying he can't throw the ball. I've never necessarily kind of participated in that kind of quote-unquote take or narrative. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think when you unpack the film, you can see deficiencies everywhere. I think I've talked ad nauseum on this channel about what Matt Nagy was asking him to do for whatever reason. Some deficiencies in the pass protection. Obviously the talent on the perimeter. I think when you go back and watch his film at Ohio State, he looked pretty damn good throwing the ball. Darren Ty, have you done any content on no huddle? Darren, I have a full course on tempos. It was one of my favorite things when I was coaching, to be able to carry multiple tempos. I thought it is a significant weapon. I think it helps everyone's understanding of football when you understand the different tempos available to a play caller, to a system. It's not necessarily just, hey, we're going to run the no huddle, but what does that mean as far as your operational? How do you teach it? How do you implement it? How do you install it? How do you practice it? Can you be multiple at lower levels of ball, meaning you can go really slow, you can be in your 4 minute, you can be in your hurry up, you can be at your fastest possible. All those types of things I talk about in great detail in a tempos course. So that's kind of the one. Grab a drink here as we wind down. How long we've been going here? I feel like I can never see the time on these things. But I appreciate everybody coming in, checking in. I'll try. Last year I tried to do Tuesdays. Didn't work. Mondays sometimes feel easier, but oftentimes Monday during the season, I haven't watched enough of the video to have a lot of good takes for people who are diehards who watch the game live. I'm not going to probably watch every broadcast, so I don't necessarily have a hot take. So I usually try to do Tuesday, and then Tuesday bleeds into making videos. So it's just it's a constant cycle. Eventually, it's just going to be. I enjoy doing these. That's the thing about it. It's fun for me to interact and go back and forth with people who are genuinely curious and enjoy football and want to get better and have questions that they think I can help them with. So I enjoy this, but it's just the scheduling part of it. One of my favorite things about doing the YouTube thing is not having a schedule. So this part just suffers because of that. Mighty Mac 21. When game planning for teams that major in quarters with matching rules, how do you figure out their rules while watching tape? I mean, I don't know if you necessarily figure out their rules. Maybe at lower levels, there can be only so many rules. But when I think about a team that runs any iteration of quote unquote zone match stuff or man match stuff quarters, I'm always trying to get as many crossers as possible. I'm never going to try to think that I'm going to predetermine how they're going to match to our bunch or how they're going to match to our tight condensed formation. I'm just going to make life miserable for them. So I'm going to shift, I'm going to motion, I'm going to have fast motions that make people cross alignments or stacked routes that make things tough on who's who in the zoo, meaning is that the 1, is that the 2, is that the 3, how are we sorting this out? They better have a call for this and do it at a really up-tempo kind of clip. I'm not necessarily worried about learning their rules because there are only so many different ways you can try to do it. I think you can offensively make life difficult by them by being multiple, by creating and presenting multiple flanks, by using shifts and motions to hit things quickly. And then you just teach your quarterback whatever the kind of predetermined quote unquote read or idea or identity of what we're trying to do with this call. Hope that makes sense. Alexander, Sam Howell, he's Washington's QB1 for now. What are your opinions of him? I was a big fan of Sam Howell coming out. I don't think anything's necessarily changed. I think he's a better runner than people think. He's not necessarily like a dynamic Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields type guy, but he can run it a little bit. I think he showed a great deep ball in college. I think, we'll see what it looks like. What a great opportunity for him. I think that organization is, has been and continues to be a little bit of a dumpster fire. I don't think that's a hot take. So it's going to be hard to be successful there. I don't even know who their offense coordinator is right now. That's not true. It's Bieniemy. So it'll be interesting to see what he looks like on his own with what that system looks like. So yeah, I mean, my opinions of him haven't necessarily changed. Mighty Mac 21. There you go. You're welcome. Starface. Think of that as what is that movie? Guardians of the Galaxy. Taserface. I watched the volume 3. It was meh. Maybe I had too high expectations. Taserface. What QB will make the biggest leap this year? This is a cop-out, but I don't necessarily think in those terms. So I've never thought about it. If I was selfishly hopeful, I think the guy who's going to make the biggest leap is a guy like Jordan Love, because his leap is from nothing to whatever it is, if it's anything positive. I think there's a lot of guys who could potentially make those types of leaps. There you go. Oh man, Darren. This is one of my longest ones too. Hopefully it's working. For some reason on my end, all my things are lagging a little bit. We'll see. We'll try it again. Nope, still not working. It's like a still. Let me know if it's working for you guys. There you go, Mighty Mac 2. You come for the ball, you get the jokes. My favorite part. Tobias. Yeah, right. It is frozen. Thanks, Darren. I have to go back. It's working on my little thing. Tobias, how often would you go to a working play call concept in a game? I would go back a lot. It depends. Well, it's a crappy answer. It depends. For instance, the only reason this is coming to the forefront of my mind is recently someone asked me on the Patreon community to do a video analysis, a full game of a game that I coached in high school. So I went back and did a game, and it's been a couple years. So I kind of forgot the sequence of plays, and I forgot that I actually called power 10 times in a row or something like that, 10 times in a row in this game. So, I'm not afraid to repeat the same call. Now, sometimes I think that those can be, bully calls if you're trying to literally beat the shit out of someone at the line of scrimmage and you just want to insert your will against them. That certain run game calls allow you to do that, things like duo, power, those types of things. But if there's like a concept or formation that you don't have the answer to, or that I don't think you can get aligned to, we'll absolutely go back to that a lot, until you. And my thing about it is game plans are always, or to me, the best game plans are always layered. So let's use an example, like something that we used to use a lot, that a lot of teams out here in San Diego high school wise seem to struggle to align to, were like 0x4 formations. So 12 personnel, 0x4 with a wing and 2 wide receivers. The wing, the inline tight end is covered up, so he's not eligible. But if you have a shift involved, you can make him eligible. If you have a couple shifts, a shift in a motion, you can really cause some issues. A lot of defenses sometimes versus us were so a la carte or bespoke that they would want to align to our quote-unquote run strength, and they'd have this boutique run defense, what I would call this like bullshit Harry high school run defense, that they would align to our tight end. Well, when we moved our tight end, they didn't have the capacity to reset the front. Well, once I know you don't have the capacity to reset the front, it's on. Like we're never gonna be static. We're always gonna be moving. I can, see what you're in, where your kind of holes in your front are, and just run towards those all day. So we keep repeating those calls. And I think the best play callers, and I would hope that in my own little mind, I fall into this. We're always setting something up. So, I don't want to go back to the well so many times when we're already up 35 points against someone. I'm going to set something up for the next opponent. I'm going to show this formation and show what we want to set up what we want. So, for instance, there was a time where, we had our 2 quarterback system where one guy would come in. He was a bit more of a runner, power read, zone read, GT type guy. And then eventually we were sitting on a throw that I thought was really going to hit, and it hit in this game that I did for the Patreon community, and I forgot how much I set it up. I set it up weeks. And so those types of things are part of the layering system that I think goes into most coordinators at any level that do it well. Oh, baby. Cody, go crazy. I don't know if I can even make sense of what that question is, dog. I apologize. Do you think in the future that using tight end and backside number 1 receiver will lose its man zone tellability as linebackers get faster? I think this will be an overgeneralization, but I think that there are very few quote unquote tells that you can use all the time for man zone things. I think the easiest one is when you put the back out on his own and you shift him in or out, and if a linebacker runs with him, it's often man. But even then, at the high levels of ball, they can play some funky zone coverages as well. But things like that, unless you're in like a weird drop back, not weird, unless you're in a high-level drop-back, sophisticated passing game where you need to know man zone, a lot of systems, if you're just doing pure progression, what the hell does it matter? If the backer runs out, if it's man or zone. You're looking 1, you're looking 2, you're looking 3. Now, there are certainly systems where the read is based on, hey, it's open man, open closed, open zone, open man, match, potential bracket beaters, those types of things where it matters, but I haven't seen a whole lot of lower level systems where that's a thing. I think it helps the quarterback to know potentially if it's man or zone, but you also have to know the shell, right? It can be, if you don't know the shell, then you don't know what the leverage to expect is in that man coverage. So do you want out breaking routes? You want in breaking routes. You want, runaways. You want stationaries. Those types of things. I don't know. It never made that big of a difference to me. It makes a difference on certain plays where it's really beneficial to know the difference between man or zone. And if you're split field reading this thing, meaning, hey, zone over here, man over here, well then, yeah, let's get some man zone tells. But, I can think of anecdotally when I was coaching high school, we only had a handful of plays that were man zone reads. And when we did have man zone reads, we often had shifts and motions. So shift, how do they adjust? Oh, it's man? Okay, great. Motion, confirm man. Shift, nobody moves. Okay, zone or pressure. Motion, nobody moves, zone or pressure. So you can kind of, start eliminating things when you have those kinds of movements in your plays. Salt Iron. Salt Iron? Man, I'm butchering your name, bro. I apologize. I saw you in the chat a few times, and I tried to avoid saying the name. Is your video on index cards for offense on YouTube? I'm pretty sure it is. If it's not, let me know. Come at me either in the comments here or in the comments on some video. I'm pretty sure it is. I think it's like me with like all my index cards on my table. I've used it before on different teaching presentations too, so I know it's out there. Jason Mansauer. Is it bad if I finish my throw with my front leg not bent? I would say most likely yes. It's not great. There are certainly some times that happens. So I don't necessarily think it's like holistically bad to say that. But yeah, I think, if you look at quote unquote like best practices of how people finish lower half wise, you don't see a whole lot of extended front legs. So yeah, I would say I would do my best to stay away from that. But I've also seen guys who throw like that all the time. So I don't know. I think that there are some quote unquote mechanic gurus that would tell you yes. I'm probably a little bit more fluid in my kind of interpretation of some of that stuff. I would say if I was teaching someone, I would prefer not to do that very often. But to say that that never happens is also probably unrealistic too. All right, y'all. I think that's a wrap. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Do me a favor, hit this thing. Oh, Mark Miller saving us here, coming in with hot $10 super chat. Definitely hang out for this one here. See what we got. Mark, fondly remember you winning some games back in the day. Appreciate it. What would be the ideal for you? Having 2 stud receivers and a top 5 running back? Hell yes. Or 4 great wide receivers and a running back by committee. Go Padres, go Chargers. I don't know about the go Chargers. Well, what level of ball are we talking about here, Mark? Are we talking about like NFL or are we talking about high school? If we're talking about, 4 great wide receivers is going to be tough. Like, I don't know if I know anybody who has 4 great wide receivers at any level. I think if you have either one of those, you're probably rolling pretty nicely. I probably would think it would be pretty amazing to have 2 stud receivers and a top 5 running back at any level. Certainly if we're talking about the NFL, hell yes. 4 great wide receivers, very rarely in the NFL are you going to have 4 wide receivers on the field consistently. I think some teams operate 10 personnel, but even, who is that, like the Chargers or the Cardinals? Even then, I don't think it's like more than 50% of the time. So I'd probably go 2 stud receivers and a top running back. I don't know. That definitely lower levels of ball, 2 receivers and 5 running backs. 4 great wide receivers. I think you can get away with the running back by committee a little bit easier at the higher levels of football just because the separation for guys once you get past like the top tier running backs and the shelf life of running backs, the investment has obviously been proven that it's probably not the greatest investment in the world to invest long-term in a running back. Either way, both good problems to have. I appreciate the support. Mighty Mac 21, why do you think it's important to separate quick game from your RPO world? Ooh, Uh, oh, Mark Miller. I'm going to definitely go 2 receivers and a top 5 running back. Separate quick game from your RPO world. I don't. I'm not sure if it's important to separate it. I think it helps teaching wise if you're going to teach either quarterbacks or wide receivers to talk about them separately, and then in your system allow them to overlap and merge because they're really the same, but how you get there can be different. So like the RPO flat slant is the same in the quick game as it is in the RPO or the hitch or the bubble, but how you call them can potentially be different. How you layer them together, what the reads are. Is the front side an access throw, meaning like you like the matchup, the grass, or is it post snap, post conflict defender, who you're reading someone? Those types of things, how you talk about them and teach them can be different. So I think it makes sense to me to separate them to be, hey, this is quick game, hey, this is RPO. Also, the quarterback footwork is usually different, RPO versus quick game. So there's a lot of different reasons to separate them, but I think it's important to also talk about them as they're kind of woven together too. So they can be 2 separate things, but when we use them in the system, in the plan, in the fall, they're going to be overlapping and woven together. That's true, Darren. You're not wrong about that. And boom. All right. Appreciate y'all hanging out. I'll see you on the other side. Thanks again for supporting the chat and supporting the channel. It means a lot to me. So keep it coming. Y'all take it easy. Later.